You're listening to Workplace Perspective, an employment law podcast presented by Sapphire Legal. Workplace Perspective is a regular podcast series for employers and employees focusing on education, training, and the law to help organizations of all sizes develop and maintain successful workplace relationships. The opinions expressed by guests on Workplace Perspective do not necessarily reflect those of Sapphire Legal or its attorneys and should not be considered legal advice. And now, here's your host, founder and principal attorney at Sapphire Legal, Teresa McQueen.
Thank you for joining me for Workplace Perspective. I'm Teresa McQueen. In evaluating risk factors, it's the smart companies that sweat the small stuff. And while terminations are not typically considered small stuff, very few organizations think twice about how effective termination practices can improve their overall risk of litigation. So for today's episode, we'll talk about ways to mitigate some of that risk by focusing on a few termination best practices. I'll provide an overview of some of the more noteworthy labor and employment bills set to take effect January 1st, and since 'tis the season, we'll end the program by kicking off our 2017 Holiday Survival Guide. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Through the years, I've taken hundreds of intake calls from terminated employees asking whether or not they have any case against their former employers. Surprisingly, more times than not, the impetus for the call wasn't first and foremost, has my employer violated the law? The fact is, most of the callers were employees who were angry, not because of why they were terminated, but because of how they were terminated.